Welcome to Banta with Toni. Join me as I share stories about motherhood, faith, life, love, and everything else in between. I promise we'll also have some fun along the way, and I hope that the time we spend together will end up being some of the highlights of your week. Thank you for coming along. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Banta with Toni. I hope you guys are going to have a lovely weekend and a great week ahead. These episodes always come out on Friday, so that's why I'm saying a lovely weekend and a great week ahead. If the previous week has not been so great, just reset. Let's just hit the reset button and let's just keep going. No matter what you're going through, no matter what's happening, hopefully these 45 to an hour that we're spending together and you listening to my episode hopefully does something for you. So I did tell you guys on the last episode that I was going to be listening to Wizkid's Morayo album, and I surely did. I did. Okay. And I just want to say great effort, Big Wiz. It was a wonderful listen. And I think total, if you count the song that I'd already liked, the Piece of My Heart song with Brent Fayez, I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Piece of My Heart, that song. It's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs that I liked on this album. So that's great. Obviously, I liked Bad Girl with Ashake. That was the first one I heard from the album that I liked. And then when I came back now and listened to the whole project, Time is my second favorite. Obviously, I love me some Jasmine Sullivan. So Bad For You with Jasmine Sullivan. Of course, Piece of My Heart. Kese, Dance, and Slow with Ane Cardo. I don't know who she is, but... So those are the ones that from listening to just the first take of the whole album, I listened to the whole project. Those were the ones that stood out to me. Now, sometimes depending on like what the artist will choose to have as their singles, I'll probably come back and maybe like a few other songs after they have singles and stuff come out. Because maybe I like the first listen, I'm like, not so, sure about this. But from the first listen, those are the ones that I like. So after that Ashake song, Time is my next favorite one from him. And it's so interesting sometimes, like when artists come out with albums and stuff, sometimes I like them just being on it by themselves. And I know you always have to have features. Features are a great way for you to like introduce your audience to new people, and then you get introduced to that other artist's audience as well. So I know it's a great way like of just collaborating and kind of like helping each other out, helping each other to grow. So Time was like one of the few ones. I think Time and Dance, those are like the two that he's just on it by himself. Every other song that I liked was like had a feature on it. So that's interesting too, right? Like, just those two. But that's the album. So if you haven't listened yet to Morayo by Wizkid, great effort. I feel like he's coming back to himself because I feel like he had like a little time. There was something there missing in his music, and whatever it is that he's going through now, I feel like he's gone back to like finding him and finding his sound. I hope I'm making sense, but I felt like he was kind of floating there for a little bit. And with this project that he came out with, I think he did a beautiful job. So congrats to Big Wiz. I hope you guys listen and share, and that, his album rocks it out and, breaks some records. Next, another music release, Davido. David is one of my favorites. I mean, at this point, all three of them, right? I love Wizkid, I love Davido, I love Burna Boy. Now, Davido came out with Funds, and if you are an African music connoisseur like myself, you're going to appreciate the sampling of Brenda Fassie's song, Vulindela. We all grew up with that song. Like, there's no way at any point of your existence growing up in Africa did you not hear Brenda Fassie's Vulindela. That is like African music royalty right there. No corner of the continent did that song not penetrate. So whenever people like, sample music that is near and dear to our heart, it's always very tricky. I hope artists know that, and I'm sure they do, that whenever you take something that's near and dear to people, like, you better bring it, because we would be like, there was no need for you to take that. So whenever like people take people's songs and rubbish it, I remember like, what was her name? I'm trying to remember the name of the country artist like that did Fast Cars. And I read an article before that there are many people who came, Tracy Chapman? Yeah. That there were many people who came before to sample her song, and there are many times that she said no. But I think it was last year or the year before, the country song that came out and sampled her music. But I felt like exactly that's a perfect example of what I'm trying to say. Like that a song actually came by and did justice to the original song. And I think sometimes whether it's the artists themselves that are like very protective, or we as the listeners on this end, like we're very protective of the music. So it's like, if you're gonna sample it, make sure you bring it, or else leave it alone. But Davido did a great job with Funds. The sampling was done in a very good, tasteful way. Like, it was good. It was good. and Udumudu Black and Chike with his lovely voice. Chike was on the song. Udumudu Black. I mean, if you don't know who that man is, go listen to his music. Is the rawness of it. I say this all the time whenever it comes to our music, even like when I listen to like rap music or whatever, the authenticity, like the street music, I always like it more. And I feel like that's just what he's just so, he's like one of the area boys. But I love his music. So that was a great combination. And I guess I was like in a music spirit. And this is like really out of the norm for me, because usually this time of year, I'm like locking everything down and all I'm listening to is Christmas music. But I didn't even get to play my Christmas playlist a lot this week. I also listened to Doechie's album. The funny thing with Doechie's album is I listened to it before, but I think it was like on my way coming back from like picking up the kids one day. And I heard one song and I liked that song. And then I listened to the album and I felt like it was good, but I never like finished it all the way through. So I actually sat down and finished her album all the way through. And I'm like, first of all, when I even heard like the song Wait that I liked so much, I was like, okay, this girl, there's something here. And then I remember like seeing her on TikTok and seeing her on Instagram, and like I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's so gorgeous, like her skin is so beautiful, and I just loved her persona and everything else. And then when I listened to the album, I was like, oh my gosh, this girl can rap, like she's bringing it. And then, you know, life, things happen or whatever it was, and then I came back to like appreciating the album again from beginning to end this week, and masterpiece. I mean, so many songs. I've been having like a music kind of thing, just kind of like listening to music out there. And I went back and liked GTFO, Nissan Altima. Obviously, Wait was like the first one on there, but she's great. So if you have not heard of Doechie, check her out. I think she's a great rapper. I'm kind of just excited for like the American female rap scene right now. I'm excited to see where they go. I actually listened to Glorilla's album too and liked some songs on there. I love her with her and T-Pain. Her and Friday did a song, the What You Know About Me song. You know, again, when I talk about samples, if you're going to sample something, you know, do it right. And I felt like that one did justice. And of course, hold on, I already had on my playlist, Let Her Cook. Like, actually, Glorilla probably had like 5 or 6 songs off the album that I like. So that's a sign that you did something. But again, Doechie's album, awesome. Well, it's a mixtape actually for Doechie. It's not an album. It's a mixtape for Doechie, Glorilla, Davido, Wizkid. So if you're in the music listening mood like me, go ahead and check those out. You will not be disappointed. Movies. So Everybody Loves Jennifer. I've been seeing the premiere from that, all the fashions, because you know our African girlies are going to deliver the fashions for us. Our Nigerian girlies, I should say, are going to deliver the fashions for us. And they came out for the premiere of this movie. And some of your faves are on there. Like, I always like when Falz act. Like, he's a great musician. He's a great artist. But I feel like, yeah, acting is like his second thing that I don't know how it fell into his lap, but I always love it when he acts. I feel like his comedic delivery is always great. Like, all the movies that I've seen Falz in, I'm like, he's done a great job. And of course, Funke Akindele, like, she's the OG funny lady, you know. So I'm excited to see it. I don't know for us here in the US if it's going to be on Prime or if it's going to be on Netflix. Now, let me tell you, if you're not up on Amazon Prime and African movies, you need to get on it. Like this holiday season, when your family's coming over, when you guys are doing stuff, if you like to watch African movies, Amazon Prime has been slept on. Like the amount of titles that are sold on there, I don't know how it works back in, especially like with a lot of the Nigerian movies. I don't know if like maybe Amazon has just been more accessible for them. Like there are options there on Netflix, but I feel like the collection on Amazon Prime is really good. So if you have Amazon Prime and you've never checked out the African movies on there, girl, boy, whoever's listening, go and check it out. Like you'll be amazed at the vast collection. Like I started watching, I don't know if you guys will know who Ibuka is, but he has a reality show. It was him and Timini, if you know who Timini is as well. These are all African actors that you would have seen in movies and stuff. But they had like a reality show like where they were like traveling through different parts of Africa. It was a bunch of them Nigerian actors. That was on Amazon Prime. And I was like, okay, Amazon Prime. So if you haven't checked out like the African content on Amazon Prime, go ahead. You'll be pleasantly surprised. There are some real good gems there. And then I saw the premiere for Tyler Perry's 688. So I'm excited for that. Kerry Washington is on there. You know, Tyler sometimes throughout this year, first of all, he has a studio, right? He has to have diverse content. And that's what I've come to realize. Like he's trying to create different types of content. Is it the Jazzman's Blues? I feel like that was the last movie of his that I was like, oh my gosh, this was phenomenal. And the last movie with Kelly Rowland, when Miami was on the show, we had our analysis of it, and then this last show that he had out, obviously, whenever I start something, I always finish it. So I finished it, but I was just like, this is not in his, this is not typically what he does. And I was like, I did not like it. I did not like it at all. I cannot sugarcoat it any other way. But the last show on Netflix, I'm trying to pull up the name because Lord, I have so many things to remember these days. Beauty in Black. And the funny thing is, like, other people that I told, like, okay, have you guys watched it? Have you seen? They said the same thing. They're like, I could not finish it. Like, it was just no. But, when it came out, it was the #1 movie on Netflix. So I didn't care for it, but there's somebody out there that cares for it. There are people out there that love it. And that's what I came to see. I like, maybe he is trying to like appeal like to the younger audiences and think that this is the kind of stuff like they like to see. But like, that's just where I'm at. I'm just like, no. Like I kept saying no a lot. Like I try to follow the storyline. There were things in there. Like he'll have like little redemptive parts in that Beauty in Black, but there were a lot of like no's. I'm like, no. Oh Lord, Mr. Perry. Okay, sometimes we can tell where you cut corners, and And I love me some Tyler Perry. I love the fact that he gives black jobs. I love the fact that he's the one that pays a lot of like the black actors like what they actually deserve. So like maybe it's like a money thing. Like he's like, I'd rather pay them what they deserve, and then y'all just gonna have to buy the makeup from the Dollar Tree to do this. Like somewhere, like something somewhere. But anyways, the even reason why I even got on a Tyler Perry thing was because of the 688. I can't wait to see that one. I know Kerry Washington is going to bring it, and it tells the story of a female, all female, and they were women of color battalion in World War II. So it's actually based on a true story. And I've seen like the pictures from the premiere and everything. And then the last one was yesterday, because I've been at the movies, or I feel like the last week I went to see Wicked, and that was awesome. Okay. It's good that people are like discovering Cynthia Erivo, but I've known her for a long time and her voice is just phenomenal. So I'm happy that she's having her moment and getting her flowers, getting what she deserves. So Wicked was good. I will see Wicked again. I will definitely see it again. Like I love musicals, and then we saw Moana 2 with the kids. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like so many movies. And then while we were watching Moana 2, they had the preview for the new Lion King, and the premiere happened yesterday, and Beyonce was there with her mom, her husband, and her daughter, Blue Ivy. And Blue Ivy just looked like such a beautiful young lady. Like her gown, she was wearing like this beautiful golden ball gown. Like she just looked like just a belle at her first ball. Like she looked gorgeous. It was just a beautiful picture, a beautiful time for their family. That was great. So that's all the pop culture news that I will be covering today. It was a lot of music for me this week, a lot of movies. Like when I saw Wicked, girl, I was crying. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody who has not seen it, but there's one scene like where she's dancing. That's all I'm going to say. And that scene brought tears to my eyes. Like I was just like, oh my gosh. And then there was another part. Actually, I started crying early in this movie. Like one of the first times that I cried was in the beginning, like just like seeing how she was ostracized, and from like even birth, like her own parents did not even want her. And like, oh my gosh, it was a very emotional movie. But it was beautiful. I love the ending. I love her finding her voice, finding herself. And I just love the idea of like, sometimes as a society, as people, we brand people and say this person is wicked or this person's evil, this person's this, but it's like everybody has a story. And I just thought it was good to like with the Glinda. Oh my gosh. Galinda and Alphaba, like I had such a struggle with both their characters. Like there were things in Galinda that I was like, oh my gosh, she's a good person. And then there will be other times that I'm like, no, she's evil. And then, with Alphaba, I guess I have moments too for her that I'm just like, oh, maybe that's the whole point, like why they directed it the way they did. And to tell that story is to give you that constant like tug, because you're trying to decide like who's good and evil. And maybe at the end of the day, we all have parts of ourselves that's good and evil. Glinda kind of like attached herself really to Alphaba's story, but it was not because Alphaba did not allow her or invited her to come in, right? And sometimes when somebody is so nice, like the danger of that niceness. Like, I guess I grew up north, so I've met and I've interacted with a lot of Galindas in my life who from the outside looking like they fit that aesthetic of, and I want to say American aesthetic of what, beauty is and the idea of what it means to be good. And I would say even down south too, I probably encountered some people who from the outside looking at like you think they're good and they're nice and that toxic niceness. That's it. That's it. It's the toxic niceness. Like the people that you meet where it's like they give the perception of goodness, but are they truly good? Because that's why you are fighting with yourself if you're looking at her character. Because it's like, okay, she's very manipulative. She's only used to getting her way. At the end of the day, like, I know exactly where this is going to go for the next movie. Like she is going to end up becoming her enemy. And then we're going to have to question ourselves, who is good here and who is evil. Maybe at the end of the day, they'll both do things that we'll have to question. Like when I was living up north, I came from Minnesota and there was this thing about people always say like that Minnesota nice. And when you look from the outside looking in, like you'll be like, okay, that's good for a city to be known of niceness. But what they were really trying to get at is like sometimes how toxic it can be, right? Because from the outside, it's like, oh yeah, this person's nice, but are they truly? Because, and again, Minnesota nice, that was a thing. To be known as nice, that's a good thing. But I'm just saying because I don't want to be attacked. I don't want anybody that's listening that's from Minnesota. I'm like, oh my gosh, she was just like, first of all, Minnesota will always have a place in my heart. That is my second home. That is where I migrated to when I came to America. So it's never of ill intent. I'm just trying to put into words what I'm sensing here, what I'm feeling here based on the experiences that I've had. And I feel like Galinda is like Minnesota nice. Like that idea, like why they say that is because people will be nice to your face, but they do things that are contrary to it. If you've ever watched Mean Girls, when they're like, oh yeah, I love your shirt. Like, that's great. But like behind your back, they're like, that is it. Like the toxic niceness. I don't know why it took me that long to figure out, what was it? Because I'm just like, Glenda is so familiar. I have encountered many Glendas when I lived up north. And that was what it was. It was the toxic niceness. And I'm sorry. I want somebody who I can see all your emotions and feelings. Like I'm going to be like, oh, okay. This is what they look like when they're mad. Like you're around me long enough, you're going to see it. You're going to see me when I'm mad, when I'm happy, when I'm like the imperfections are there. And I want to see that. But that person that gives that facade of niceness, but they actually toxic, like they're very toxic, that is problematic. And it's funny because in the world, the person who gives you all the emotions and you can see them, they're easy for people to brand them as mean or evil or this, which is exactly what happened with Alphaba. But then you have to ask yourself, like a lot of times, then that person that you're saying that is wicked and they're evil and they're this and they're that, are they really? Or is it the person that's pretending to be like, oh my gosh, a moment. Okay, a moment. I don't even know how this turned into a Wicked analysis, but this was not even part of the plan. Okay, this is just like off tangent. But oh my gosh, asking yourself that, like, is that person truly wicked or have certain things in their life happened that has caused them to be the way they are? And then you have the person that's like a toxic niceness. Oh my gosh. So that's that. That's a lot that was happening in pop culture. So it will give you a handful. Like if you listen to this podcast and you go back and you listen to, the music I suggest or you watch the things I suggest, you're going to be busy. Okay. I give you a lot of stuff to go back and look at. So enjoy, because I have definitely enjoyed. Go to the movies. Go see Wicked. Go see Moana 2 with your kids. Lion King, I think it's coming out, I want to say December 20th, which is like the same time that the new Tyler Perry movie is going to come out on Netflix. And then Everybody Loves Jennifer. We don't know when it's coming to us and we don't know what platform it's going to be on, but I'll keep my eye out for it. And then, go listen to all the music that I mentioned. So I'm keeping you busy so you can stay out of other people's business. You see there? Look at what I've done for you. Look at that. I'm doing the Lord's work. Oh my goodness. So today, now it's a little bit serious, but today's episode was prompted by something that I have been dealing with. And it's tricky because when I come on here, I'm always going to aim to be authentic and be transparent to a certain degree, because if it's anything I've learned, people say that they want authenticity and transparency, but sometimes those very same people can turn around and villainize somebody for giving that very thing. And we say we want it, but we only want it to a certain degree, right? That's at least my own analysis from looking. So the topic I'm going to cover here today was inspired by something I was dealing with up until last night. And I did an act, I did something that I felt like was contrary to how I want to operate as a Christian and how I want to operate just as a human being that's just trying to be the best version of myself that I can be and be somebody that's led by the word of God, what it says. I try to live that in my life. And I feel like the action that I took yesterday, what I did, the place that it came from, it wasn't representative of that. And the reason why I even wanted to share it was because I felt like the message was something that I hope can resonate with people. And it's amazing sometimes how life presents itself. Like when I was experiencing this yesterday, no way did I even think that it would be something that I'll sit here today and would want to talk to you guys about. But I'm not going to go into much details, but all I can say is I did an act, and when I had to search myself and search my heart, even though in some ways I felt justified in it, I had to look at it and realize that somebody or something has inflicted pain on me in a way of like playing God, whoever this person, entities, whoever they are, wherever they're coming from, right? And in my moment of weakness, doing what I did, saying what I said, that I was in essence also trying to play God. So first of all, that's a lesson in itself right there, because I felt like I was feeling pain and suffering from in my act of like countering that. I also was playing God because I was trying to inflict pain and suffering on somebody. I hope it's making sense, just to give you the essence of where this came from. So my topic today that we are diving into is playing God, surrendering control, and trusting his plan. I'm going to take y'all to church today. I mean, you came on this episode after I gave you all the analysis I gave you from pop culture. You didn't know I was going to church today. We're going to church today because, like I said, I wouldn't come on here and not give my whole self. When I promised myself that I was going to do this, I promised myself that I was going to do it in the way that I'm doing now. I'm going to be vulnerable, but I'm going to be smart about it because ain't nobody got time for people and their foolishness. But I have to talk about this because it's something that clearly, after what happened to me yesterday, I struggle with it. And if I'm struggling with it, I felt the pain from people playing God, trying to play God in my life. And then I, in turn, tried to do it. So I know that if I'm struggling, there has to be at least 1, 2, 5, or the million, 50, 100,000 other people out there that struggle with it. And maybe you are doing it and you don't even realize that that is what you're doing. So that's where we're going to go today. The first scripture that we're going to start with is Jeremiah 29:11. And it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." So I want us to keep that verse in mind today as we go through this episode, because it's like the overarching theme, really. If we attempt to control everything around us, what we are actually doing is telling God that we do not trust him. When we try to exert control over things, people, we're telling God we don't trust him. We're actually telling him, in fact, I can do a better job than you. Watch me. Because now you have decided that you are going to be judge and jury. You're going to decide who's good and evil. Yeah. So this morning, before I started recording, I had to sit with myself. I had to pray. I had to ask for forgiveness for that which I uttered out of my own mouth. And when I started searching my heart, because as I was praying and everything else, God was just speaking to me like, okay, so what does this tell you about you? What is it that you have to then work on? I realized it was coming from that place. Like I felt like this person or these people or this thing was painful to me. And I'm like, you are not doing a good enough job of inflicting pain on the people that are inflicting pain on me. So I'm going to do it. And I'm like, the spirit of what it comes from, right? Because first of all, he tells us, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So if I'm trying to say things or whatever it is to inflict pain on people, then that is not me loving my neighbor as I love myself. Because would I do that to myself? No. So then I should not do that to other people. But then at the core of it, like as I was praying, I felt his spirit speaking to me and it was just like, search your heart. So what is it? And I was like, you know what? I was trying to be you. That's what it was. Because again, when God does things, life is so intricate, right? When God does certain things, when he does give justice for things, when he does do, sometimes we don't see it. And I think as human beings, when you feel your pain, when you feel the things that you feel, they can be so strong. Those emotions can be so strong that when you're looking for justice, you're like, but I don't see it, God. But it's like, sometimes you don't see what everybody's going through. You don't see what that person might be struggling with. You don't see it. So that's why you keep your hands clean and you say, God, you know what? I'm turning it over to you. And I've said this so many times, and like that's the crazy part is like in that moment, because of so much pain and everything else that I was feeling in that moment, it's like I know this. In my heart of hearts, I know this, but my actions were contrary to it. So it's crazy. It's crazy. But what does it mean to play God? So let's go into that. That is when you try to manipulate outcomes, when you try to control others, and you try to micromanage life. That's you playing God. Believing that your way is the only way and the best way. So in my scenario, going back to myself, I felt like I'm not seeing enough that you're handling these things. So it's like, let me handle it myself. Exactly. I was playing God in that moment. So I'm asking you, think about the ways in your life that you try to manipulate outcomes. You try to control others. You try to have what you think is the best thing. What you have decided is what that person needs. Like it's all about you. It's centered around you. That your way is the only way, the best way, how you want things, how people should be. Like that's how they're going to be. And if they don't fit that, then they're not. That's you playing God. That's problematic. So another verse is Proverbs 3, verse 5-6. And it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. But is that leaning your own understanding? Because I think sometimes when we start manipulating things, when we try to control other people, when we try to control the outcomes, it's because we're leaning on our own understanding. We're all interconnected in this life. Like it doesn't invalidate whatever feelings you have. It doesn't invalidate any of the hurt, but it's trusting that God, even as I'm hurting, even as I'm feeling pain or whatever, it's still not the full story. It's just my story right now. It's just my pain right now. It's just what I'm feeling in this moment, but it's not a representation of everything, everybody connected to me. Knowing that you just trust him because our own feelings, we go based off our feelings, we go based off of what we understand, we go based off of what we see. It is never going to be the full story. And then this life that we're living with other people in this world, it's so intricate. Even if you feel like I have so much information, I know everything, you're only seeing such a small part of the puzzle. Like you will not know every single piece. You don't know how people's lives are intertwined with each other, how they affect things, how that, comes into being. That's why if you ever see somebody who has had like a terrible story at one point in their life and they're risen from it and now they're in a good place and you go and you ask them, would you change anything about your life? If that person has made peace with a lot of the traumas, with a lot of the things that they experienced during the parts of their life that were terrible, they will still tell you no. And the reason why they will tell you no is because they will tell you, if I didn't experience that, I wouldn't be where I am today. But it's that understanding, like life is so intricate that what I'm experiencing now, what I'm feeling now, being at this place where for some people it's like, okay, I'm doing financially well, or I have peace in my life, or I have all these things. Like I would not change anything that came before that because it will mean that what I'm experiencing now, I wouldn't get to experience it. So if that's what I had to go through during that section of my life to be at where I am now, I will not change a dang thing. But it's that understanding just the intricacies of life. Like just even changing one little thing can change your destiny, can change how life turns out for you. So like, even if you're hurting, even if there's pain, even if like, it's like, you just feel like, man, I don't know how much more of this I can take. Never take it into your own hands and feel like, oh my gosh, I need to then fix it. Because then one, you're not trusting God, but two, you're not seeing that even that little action that you take then and there can have consequences that can lead to you for years to come. So for me, I asked God for forgiveness, but it's just praying that which I said, the things, that it will not have consequences for generations and years to come. But that's how easy it can happen, right? So I'm asking you, do you try to manipulate outcomes? Do you try to control others? Do you try to micromanage things? And do you believe that your way is only the best way and it's only going to be your way or no way at all? If that is you, I'm asking you now, search your heart, because that means that you're trying to play God. That means that you're trying to say that you are going to be the judge of everybody and everything. And you are the one that's going to decide who gets what based on your assessment and your judgment. And it's telling God that you don't trust his plan, right? And you're telling him, I am not in alignment with you. Because even when it hurts, even when it makes no sense, even when you don't know what's coming next, even when you're like, man, I don't know how much of this I can take. If you trust God and trust where he's taking you in your life, you'll be like, okay, even though I don't know what this feels like right now, I'm trusting that you will not put me in anything that you will not get me out of. You will not bring anything to me that I cannot handle. So when you fall short, what you have to go back to is saying, God, do I truly trust you? Because if I truly trust you and I'm giving things over to you, then I'm not trying to manipulate outcomes. I'm not trying to control others. I'm not trying to micromanage everything. I'm not trying to act like my way is the only way. I'm not trying to act like I know everything. I'm not trying to do all that, because I'm saying that as you are moving and working things in my life, you have your way. And I'm not wrestling with you for that control and power. So are you stepping into roles and making decisions that aren't yours to make? Woo! We can have a conversation there. Because sometimes we think our intentions are good. Oh, it's coming from a good place. I'm just trying to do something. But are you taking decisions away from individuals, making decisions that are not yours to make, doing things that are not yours to be done? And in those actions, then you're telling God, I don't trust you. In fact, you're saying to God, I can be God because I'm going to make these decisions. This person deserves this. This person deserves that. That person should have that because of how I view or how I see things. You're playing with fire at that point. You really are. So first is acknowledging when you try to play God, understanding the behaviors that you do that says you're trying to play God. But then I think it's important for us to ask, why are we trying to play God, right? Because it's for you to understand it's so much emotions. For some other people, it might be fear, like that fear of the unknown. Because like I said, when you have to trust God, trust his timing, trust when you say you're in alignment with him, really trust him to lead your life. When you hand over things to him, oh my gosh, it's a scary thing. It's a wonderful thing when we open our mouths and we say it. But like when you actually truly live in it in your life, my gosh, it is scary. I don't know what anybody else will tell you. Maybe some people, they wake up and it's just like, oh, after I've trusted God and I just walk and it's daisies and it's beautiful. Okay, that's good for you. But for people who are going to be honest here, it is a scary thing because like I'm saying, like when your back is up against the wall, it's easy to trust when everything is great, when everything is going. But when you've had a month, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, a whole decade, like now we're talking, now you're really in it. So why do we try to play God? Out of fear, perfectionism, the need to control. So you have decided in your life how things should look. So when they don't look like that, then you're trying to mold it. You're trying to take things and make them into it, right? And then thinking that our plans are better than God's plan. One of the things that I've heard people say that I have even said is like, I'm not Jesus. Like God, he went through so much, but I'm not him. Like I can't be out here going through and feeling all the things that he felt. I'm not him. I can't take it. Like, so again, at the core of that for me, that tells me there's fear there because if he went through what he went through, the Bible that we read suffered the things that he suffered. Who am I? When I was praying, I heard that clear as day because I was like, well, why do I? And then I heard back, but who are you? So it's like the checking of yourself. Like, why do I have to go through this? And it's like, but who are you? Who are you that you don't have to go through it? So it's understanding when you're playing God, why you're doing it, checking yourself, making sure it's not those things where you think you know better, where it's a form of you having perfectionism because you've decided this is how my life should look or what it should feel like or how things should be. And then is it coming out of fear? Are you so afraid of the unknown? Are you so afraid that you don't trust? So then that's why you try to play God. That's why you try to take things into your own hands. And so another scripture that I'll give you will be Isaiah 55, verse 8-9. And it says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. My thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. I made a post online, I would say maybe about a month ago when I was talking about the chaos, the things that happen to you in your life when you hand over your life to God and say, God, take control. I give everything to you. I lay everything at your feet and I want you to handle it. That a lot of times what we say is chaotic, what we say is problematic is actually him aligning things and putting them back because the way our human mind works, the way our flesh works, right? When we say A, what we say is A, God will actually say, no, that's B, that's C, that's D, that's not A. So every single thing that we feel like we understand and we have come to know when he's operating, a lot of times it's contrary to that. So that's why, and this verse just puts into words what I was feeling that day when I wrote that, because it was this idea like when you look at it from the outside, you're saying, man, God, there's so much chaos, so much problem, so much this, so much that. And then he's looking at it, he's like, oh, it looks very good to me. Like I'm getting things back the way I want them to. You invited me into this. You said, put my life into alignment, bring things back into how they should be. You asked me, you came and said, God, I'm giving my life back to you. Take it and make it yours. That's what I did. I handed it to him and I said, take it and make it yours. So I asked him. So then now he's taking it and he's making it his. And then I turn around and I have a problem with it because I'm like, oh, you're doing too much of taking it and making it yours. I need you to take it and make it mine how I wanted it to be. And he's looking at me like, really? Okay, ma'am. All right. Do you know what it is that you asked? And so I have to share this because I'm just like, oh my gosh, my mind, my mind has been blown. So trust in him, trust in his higher purpose. Sometimes you exercise certain things and you only get stronger by doing it more and more. Trust in God. It's one of those things. You're just going to have to trust him. And then you're going to do like I did yesterday. You're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes. You realize it within yourself. You have your quiet moment within yourself. You ask for forgiveness. You forgive yourself. You let it be where it is. So like now when this happened, I'm not going to beat myself over this for 2 weeks, 3 months, 5 years, 7 years. No, I made a mistake. I fell short. And that is why I'm not going to beat myself over it. I'm going to let it go. And then I'll probably not have anything happen again for a while. And then I might fall short again where it's like, I'm not trusting him again. And I feel like I'll get better and better. But we don't get better at it if we don't practice it. So I ask you, if anybody else out there is going through where it's like you're trying to control, you're fighting with him, really. You think you're fighting with individuals or people or whatever it is, but really you're fighting with him because he's like, let me lead your life. Let me take these things on. And you're telling him, oh no, I can do it better. I'm good. I'm leaning in my own understanding. I'm leaning in my own abilities, what I can do, what I can say, what I can do, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, okay. Because again, like we always know, he gives us free will. We're able to do things that we want to do. And then when we go off course, when we go out of alignment, if you're able to recognize it for yourself, ask for forgiveness and come back into it, then you keep on going through, you keep on journeying with him. But it's going to be one of those things where it might be a lifelong journey. I'm only 36 years into this thing, but man, growing up, I thought I knew God and I trusted him and everything else. And then, like I say, at this phase of my life that I'm in, it's like everything that I thought I knew, that I thought girl, have a seat. And for the first time in my life, I don't know, maybe it's adulthood, maybe it's experiencing things, maybe it's having more responsibilities. Do I feel like when I was younger, I trusted God more? Absolutely. But I probably didn't have all these things on me like I do now, right? So now it's like when somebody's talking, oh, if I had that kind of money, this is what I would do. If I had this is what I would do. Okay, anybody can talk. Anybody can run their mouth. You get there now, you will find out when you are there, when you have it now. Are you doing what you said you would do? It's easy to run your mouth when you don't have it, when you don't have a responsibility, when you don't have the pressures, when you don't have this and that. Oh yeah, I trust God. But now it's like, whew, for me to really do this thing of saying I trust you and I let you, oh my gosh. The amount of letting go, the let go-ness that I have to let go. Hey, my goodness. So examine yourself to find out, why do you try to play God? And then the next part, the consequences of when we're trying to play God. And I'm telling you, after he said to me, search your heart. So what was it? And then I had to say, okay, it's me playing God. And then obviously I've been through enough therapy to understand then why was I trying to play God? Look through that. Then the consequences of you playing God. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be burnt out. Aren't you stressed enough? Aren't you burnt out enough? And you're missing out on his blessings for you because then you have like this tunnel vision. And that is definitely something I've experienced. Because I'm like, well, why aren't you doing this? And why aren't you doing that? And like I said before, even with joy, I had to learn there are things in your life to be joyful for. I have blessed you immensely. But there was a time it's like I couldn't see it. Because I'm like, well, you didn't give me this. I don't have this kind of relationship. I don't have that. But it's like, I gave you this. I gave you that. So what are those things for you too? That you might have looked and be like, well, this person has this. This person has that. Where's mine? And all along, you had things. You might not have the outwardly things, but you have the inner things, but you're missing it. I mean, I have taken care of people in the hospital where they are so important, so wealthy, but not one person would come to that hospital bed to see them. And those who did, sometimes they came like out of that obligation of what they can get out of this individual, of this person by them being there. Sometimes if there was probably not even money attached, those people would not be there. And then I've taken care of people who they might not have anything monetarily, but they never spent one moment alone in that hospital bed. Like I have seen some families that would just be rotating. Like if a cousin wasn't here, an auntie was here. If the auntie wasn't here, the mother was there. If the mother wasn't there, the daddy was there. If the daddy wasn't, it was a constant. The grandma showed up, the uncle. I'm like, are 55 of y'all going to be in this room every single time I come in here to take care of this patient? Oh my gosh. I hope these people know how wealthy they are in the love that they have in their family. Because the number of people that have showed up to this hospital, even though it's driven me crazy, I'm like, how the heck am I going to pass these meds when there are 55 million of you up in this room? But it's such a beautiful thing. So sometimes it's not even because, somebody's wealthy, then they have nobody around them. It's about what they're deposited in people's lives, like the blessing of it. Like that is such a blessing. So you might look at your life, look at something and say, in the case of these individuals that I've talked about, one of them that I'm thinking about, I think he got married like later on in his life. But I'm sure there was a time in his life, maybe he could have looked around and say, everybody else is getting married and I don't have a partner and I don't have a this. But look at all the people that called him, all the people that showed up for him, even when they could not physically even be there at the hospital, but he never once felt like he was going through something by himself. And he could have focused on the fact that, God, I got married later in life, so you must not love me, you must not care for me. Or in the case of this other family, you can say, we don't have this and we don't have that, but look at all the love that you guys have. We all have something. I met somebody who can go to any freaking state in this entire United States and she has family members there. That's a blessing. What? Oh yeah, I have family here and I have family there, and just a drop of a call, I can pick up the phone and I can go to them and spend time. Like if I'm in that city, whoa, that's a blessing. There are things I'm sure they're lacking in their life, but I hope that individual knows that's a blessing. Again, I would never sit here on this mic and share anything or do anything or say anything out of my own mouth that I've not experienced, that I've not felt. It's what I will not do, because what am I talking about? Why would I do that? That's a waste of my time, waste of your time for you listening. But that's the consequences of us playing God. So another verse, Romans 8, verse 28. And it says, and we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. So when you're wrestling with yourself, when you're like, man, you are not doing it the way I would do it. Like, why are they not suffering? Why is this happening to me? Why? When you're doing all that, you say you're his. You say you've given your life to him. You have to know that he's always going to look out for you. He's going to look out for your best interest, even when it doesn't make sense. And that is when it's tough. That is when it's hard. Is that when it doesn't make sense part. Oh my gosh, that drives me crazy. I cannot sit here and lie to y'all. That gets to me. Because when I'm looking at it, 1 + 1 ain't making 2. And I'm like, how? What are we doing? And as I even sit here more and as I'm going through this episode, it's just like so much aha, as Oprah would say, aha moments. So for me, I'm in the middle of it right now. This letting go. I've journeyed through letting go. I feel like I've accomplished it in many different degrees. And I thought I was doing good with it. But last night highlighted for me that there's still work to be done. And like I said before, on this journey, you're going to go a little bit. You're going to have a misstep. You just get right back up. Search yourself. Just always make sure when you're having the missteps, you search yourself. But you get right back up again. But when you prevent others from growing in their own faith, you overstep your boundaries. So maybe you don't play God in your life, but you try to play God in other people's lives. And then kind of going back to like what we talked about in the beginning when I said the toxic niceness. You think it's clothing. Oh, I'm trying to do something good. It's good intention. Really, are you? Because you need to search yourself. Why do you feel the need that you have to play God in people's lives? Because there are some people like maybe you don't do it for yourself, but you try to be God in other people's lives. You try to have judgment. You are the one that decides this person did this, so they need to have this. Oh, I'm trying to help. Why? Because that's just as problematic. That's just as damaging. Because when you're trying to play God in other people's lives, like you're preventing God from being God, from handling things. And again, remember, you don't know everything. You don't see everything. So now you're taking actions and acting like God based off of limited understanding. Like it's not yours. You can support other people without playing God in their lives. So how do we do that? When a friend comes to you, they're struggling, they're going through something, you listen to it. And then you pray for that individual. You're not going to be trying to fix them, trying to fix what's wrong or whatever. You just say, you know what? Oh my gosh, what you're going through right now, I'm so sorry for you. Like I had that happen to me recently and it was so refreshing. Like I'm coming to you in a time of weakness because I need somebody, because we need community. We need each other. But you're like, it's tough what you're going through right now, but I can't fix it. But let me pray for you. And you keep telling that person, and I'm going to pray for you. And not just to say it by word of mouth, but you get down on your knees when that friend has been done sharing whatever it is that they're sharing with you, and you pray for them. I mentioned that last week when I talk about sometimes just somebody is in your spirit, somebody's in your mind, and you just get down and you just pray for that individual. Like that's what we're supposed to do. Respecting other people's journeys and then trusting that God will work it out in their lives. I cannot stress that enough because you have no idea how you trying to play God in somebody's life how much that is inflicting pain on them, and then how much you are then taking on things that you should not take. So in your mind, you have convinced yourself, you think it's well-intentioned. You're like, I see this and I want to fix it. No, you're not God. And so the turmoil, there might be things you're going through and you're feeling in your life and you're thinking, but I'm a good person. Like, I give. And then when I saw that this person was struggling, I try to fix it and I try to do and I'm doing and I'm doing. But then you are miserable, you're sad, you are feeling all these emotions like that are contrary to what you feel or think you're doing. That's because you're trying to play God in people's lives. We will sit here in the Western world and think we're doing something to benefit those people over there because they're so unfortunate because, you know, they just need it. And we don't realize that what we're doing is actually harmful. Like the NGOs will always talk about sometimes how the whole charity schemes that we have here of, you know, donating money or aid. Aid is a big one. Anybody who has studied any kind of social science will tell you the aid that's been given to some African countries have been crippling in ways that it is killing and suffocating the people. But it's clothed, right? That toxic niceness. It is clothed in, oh, we're giving stuff to help these countries. We're doing something that's great. Don't you see? We're doing such great work. In return, you're crippling economies. That's why Africa is the way it is. And you turn around and you feel good about yourself and you say, I've donated money and we're giving aid here and we're doing this here, but you don't see the damage that it's being done. Like, leave people alone. Let them come to you with what they need. Imagine how the world would be different if African leaders went to somebody and said, you know what, this is what my country needs. Instead of you guys coming up with things, doing things that you think they need, telling them, oh, well, I'm over here, I'm helping you. And in fact, you're harming them. So that overstepping can be so dangerous. That's how we support each other. That's how we make this difference that we want to see. If you don't care about making no difference in the world, that's fine. That's your own thing. But if you care about making a difference in the world, I ask us to check ourselves and make sure that we're not doing it in a toxic way that's clothed in us doing something nice and good for people. Because we convince ourselves, we tell ourselves, when you have decided that you're going to play God in somebody's life, you then go through this whole thing of you convincing yourself and telling yourself, this is me righting a wrong. This is me fixing this and that. Again, when you look at it, right? Why are you at the center of it? It's like your ability. I'm going to fix it. So push God to the side. He ain't got it. He don't know what he's doing. I'm going to do it. And then you want the accolades. You want people to say, oh, you know, you saw something that was wrong in that individual and you did it. Let people be people. Let God be God. So I feel like we covered a lot today. But like I said, for me, it's been in my own life. I'm on my journey of learning to let go within my own life. And when I had my misstep yesterday, if I'm going to be vulnerable and honest here, I felt like that loss of control. I felt like there are things outside of myself and people who were overstepping or doing things in ways that I didn't ask for. And that's where that came from, because I felt like it was so hurtful. And we have to learn how to not overstep. So trust God in your own life, but trust God in the life of other people too, even when it don't make sense, especially when it doesn't make sense. You say, you know what? I only know a part of the story. Like so much stuff that I see even online that people go through. You have just a little piece of information. You've formed a whole thing. You have decided justice for this person. You have decided this person is the evil one and this person is right and this one is wrong and this one, like you don't know everything. No matter how much information you think comes out, you don't know the full picture. So we should always remember that. And then how can one person or a group of individuals then decide what is good for everybody else? How arrogant is that? And that's why we'll feel the things that we feel, even like as a nation. Because how long have we positioned ourselves as a nation collectively? I know some people will be like, well, that don't represent me. I'm just living in America. But your country, our country, sometimes that's how we position ourselves to the rest of the world. Telling people what is good for them, how they should be. Even like when I had the criticisms for Kamala Harris at the time, that was what was at the essence of it. I'm not saying I agreed with the Ghanaian people and how they were going about doing things and the laws that they had, but I trusted enough that the people in their country had the ability to decide for themselves based on the leaders that they picked and chose what was good for them. And when the time is right for their country to be reformed in whatever ways, however it needs to happen, to move with whatever worldviews there is, it will happen. But until then, we have to stop trying to play God in people's lives. It has caused so much turmoil for us as a people. And when I say as a people, I mean all of us in this world. That which I'm talking about today, I struggle with it personally. but I don't feel like I've tried to play God in people's lives, but maybe I have. And maybe that's what all of us have to do, is search ourselves. Did I take certain actions? Did I do something? And in that way I was trying to play God? And then did I come back and say, oh, well, that didn't happen how I wanted it to be? We'll be amazed. I think that's where I'm going to leave it at today. I pray that we recognize it within ourselves, that we all sit in our quietness and say, how do I try to play God in my life? And how have I tried to play God in other people's lives? And that we surrender control and that we trust God in his plans and we empower others by letting God do his work. That is one thing I went through like 5 years ago. Once I realized like when I let go, the way God works, it's so much better. And then I have so much more peace in my life because of it. I think I used to struggle with that, like in this overstepping in other people's lives. Now it's me learning how to let go for within my life, within myself. That was the next phase of it. But with other people's lives, I experienced that years ago. And I think once I came to see like, who the heck are you? I learned, you know what? I'm going to let God handle what he needs to handle. And when he does it, it's so beautiful and it's way better than anything that I could have done. So then I let it go. But maybe for some other people, it's the opposite. Maybe you've learned how to let go and you trust God with things in your life, but then you are a overstepper in other people's life. You see something, you must fix it. Like nobody asked you, but here you are. How are you going to fix that and be better? Because it really is something dangerous. I wish I can get into more details, but like I said, I'm protecting myself. But man, and I still struggle. Like there'll be times when I'm like, oh my God, I noticed this in this person and I just wish like things were different. And I might have a conversation with somebody where I say that, but then when I come back and I'm like, girl, that was not your business. Like really, it doesn't mean that I don't care for you as another human being. But when you really say that's not your business, it's saying I'm letting God do his work. I'm letting God take control. So I'm still going to be here for you. It's not an excuse for you not to be there for people and hold space for them and see them and feel what they feel and everything else. But knowing your limitations, knowing where you will not cross. Because you know what? I'm going to let God be God. So that's it today. And, you know, this affirmation came up. And so I'm going to end it with this. I'm saying this. And if you are listening, say it with me. Say, today, I choose to release what I cannot control. And I trust God's plans for me and others is perfect and good. Let's say it again. Today, I choose to release what I cannot control. And I trust that God's plans for me and for others is perfect and it's good. So I'm ending today with gratitude, with encouragement, and I'm saying thank you. Thank you if you're even here at the end of this episode. Thank you for reflecting with me today. Thank you for going through it with me. I hope everything, when, I'm able to listen back, that it's making sense. But this is raw today. It's what I've been dealing with. And I just had to come on here and just speak about it because it was in my mind and it was so fresh. So thank you for reflecting with me. And remember, God, he has you. So let him lead the way. Let him lead the way in your life and let him lead the way in the life of others. And don't go meddling and trying to be him. Let him be God and trust him. And our life will be what? Lovely, right? We got to live by this loveliness. I am, I guess, going to be the queen of lovely next. I'm going to be the Martha Stewart of the word lovely, I guess. But no, truly, seriously, our life truly will be lovely. And our life is lovely. When we have the tunnel vision, you think my life isn't, but it is. In chaos, it's still lovely. In trials and tribulations, it's still lovely. Even when I'm hurting, it's still a lovely life. Even when it doesn't make sense, it's still lovely. But it's lovely because we surrender to God. We surrender to his grace and mercies and truly, truly let him be in control of our lives and the lives of others. And it's a beautiful and lovely life. So thank you so much for listening today. I hope this episode does something for somebody out there. Even if it's one person, that's it. Like, I'm not on here talking because I just want to grow for myself and do all these, like, it's part of me even discovering my purpose. And there are going to be some people, they're going to hear this today and it's not going to do anything for them. But I know there'll be somebody somewhere that hears what it is I'm saying. And they're like, man, I need to do some work. I need to search within myself. I need to start learning how to stop controlling my own world, my own life, and stop controlling others and truly trust God and let God lead. So I hope you guys have a blessed and wonderful weekend. Before I go, my song selections of the week. So this is an interesting one. I heard this song and it's been on my playlist for a while. This song has been on my playlist since earlier this year, but this is my first time sharing it on this platform. So my gospel song of the week is Yet, and it's by The King Will Come. And it just speaks to that idea of just like our imperfections. Like even what I went through yesterday, I feel like it's so like appropriate for today. But it's like, yeah, God, don't give up on me. I'm going to make missteps. I'm going to fall short. I'm going to do things that are not right. I'm not going to be perfect. But it's like, don't give up on me, God. Because I know I've come a long ways and I have so much longer to go. But don't give up on me yet. So I love, love, love this song. Again, Yet by The Kingdom Will Come. And then my other song of the week, this one was really a surprise. It's called For Campe, like the number 4, and then Campe, Kampe. And I'm not even going to try to say like this artist name because I feel like I'm going to butcher it so much. I'm going to try. I think it's Joe Due File, okay? Because he is Haitian. He's a Haitian artist. And the song is called For Campe, and it's spelled Kampe with the accent aigu. Hey! My French teacher will be very proud of me. So, For Campe, right? That part of the song where the drums come in and it's like da 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 da. Psst, take it over. Type For Campe, listen to it, and listen to Yet. Beautiful music. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I know it's going to be a long one, but I hope that it bless your spirit in some way or another. And I'll see you guys next time. Look at me saying see. We will convene. Lord, I'm just all over the place today. I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for listening. All right now. Bye-bye. You just finished an episode of Banta with Toni. Did you like it? I hope you had a great time and that you have some takeaways from this episode. But before you go, I want to ask you one thing. And that is to share this episode or this entire podcast with a friend, family member, or acquaintance. Because remember, when you have something good, you need to talk about it. You need to share it and you need to shout it from the rooftops. So go on and let people know in your life that you have this wonderful podcast that you would like to share with them. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, your support, and everything else in between. And remember, if you do it, I have to talk about it. Have a great week.